tear, it falls and hits the ground. A tree, it falls without a sound. A bird, it calls and sends you home. A man, he sits in the cold all alone.
Hi, Jennifer. Welcome to the Joy of Sunflowers. Thank you so much for joining me and everyone here. Please introduce yourself a little bit more.
Sure. So thank you, first of all, for organizing this and for inviting me. It is a true honor. Hi, I'm Jen. I am a fertility coach. So I support women who are struggling to get pregnant, who are going through IVF, who are going through pregnancy loss. I also have a community for women who are pregnant after infertility or loss. And I came to this career or business as a result of my own experience with infertility and pregnancy loss, which involved 7 years, 9 IVF cycles. We had one baby via a surrogacy relationship. We had 2 miscarriages and a natural pregnancy at the end. So I feel like my experience went through the whole gamut of emotions that you can go through. So now, I really needed the support. Like, I think the emotional support just isn't there for what we are going through, and people don't talk about it, and we go through this in silence. So I really wanted to be a voice and be what I needed on this journey as well. So it led me to what I'm doing today, which I'm, very grateful for.
Wonderful. And I'm sure so many women are grateful to have you in their corner and feel like they have someone who understands, because, yeah, you're right. That is the toughest part of going through this journey. You feel very alone. Can we start like at the beginning of your story so people know, what you've been through, and they can kind of, get a bit more understanding of how you came to this sort of part of your life?
Yeah, absolutely. So how much time do you have? So I'm I guess to understand, a bit about me, I am your typical type A personality. I am very structured. I am very driven. So when I met my husband and we got married, we started trying for a baby on our honeymoon. I was 33 years old at the time. And I had been on contraception for 16 years beforehand. And I just had this idea that I would go off the pill and completely just get pregnant. So when we were struggling, it came as a bit of a shock for me. So 6 months into our marriage and into our trying to conceive journey, we went to, our doctor. My head in my hands, and I was just baffled. I didn't know what to do. So they ran a whole bunch of tests. My husband didn't have particularly great sperm. I wasn't getting a regular cycle. So we just went down the path of IVF, and the journey that ensued beyond that was crazier than I could have imagined. So I didn't question it. We just went down the path of IVF. As I said, I have a problem. Here is a solution. I hadn't done a whole heap of research into it, but I just wanted to be off it. I wanted my baby in my arms, and we just went down that path. So halfway through our cycle, we discovered that I wasn't getting a lining on my uterus, so there would be no point in going through the full IVF cycle. So we finished it. We got some embryos, and then for the next about year or so, we just went from place to place trying to work out how to solve my problem of no lining on my uterus. And, we tried all natural therapies, we tried homeopaths, we did acupuncture, I changed diets, you name it, I did it. I went and saw fertility specialists, Viagra pessaries and exploratory surgery. So I really became this lab rat for a whole year. And it was really devastating and frustrating at the same time. And eventually our fertility specialist that we were going to took us to the side and said, there's no other way that you're going to have a baby of your own but via a surrogate. So that was a really bitter pill to swallow. I'm, amongst my other beautiful personality traits, I am also like, I like control. And this was me having to hand over control of something to someone else. And up until after 2 years of struggling, I wanted to feel pregnant. I had craved it for so long. But we do what we do. And about 6 months earlier, my sister-in-law, my husband's sister, had actually said offhand, if you wanted me to have a baby for you, I'll have one. She had 2 sons. She loved being pregnant. So when the doctor broke that news to us, we promptly got on the phone to her and said, were you serious? Will you have a baby for us? And she said yes. So we started going down the path of surrogacy. And once again, I just thought that it would be simple. We had embryos, we had someone who was going to be able to carry children because she had before. And it took us another 2 years. And we did round after round of IVF, like sometimes getting healthy embryos, sometimes not. We did transfers, some resulted in absolutely nothing. And eventually she got pregnant. And that was just the most amazing, we had never gotten pregnant before. But unfortunately, she had a miscarriage, which was such a weird experience because I wasn't physically going through it, but it was my baby and we had taken so long. So there was also that element of guilt on top of it, that we had done this to her, that she had never experienced a miscarriage and the creation of her own family. But now, because of us, she was a member of this club that no one wants to be a part of. So it was a really hard thing to navigate. And my husband, his sister and I, we just kind of went our separate ways to try to grieve our way through this. It was such a weird level of grief. And when you've gone through a miscarriage, it's not like when someone passes away, you know what to do and people support you through it and everything. Like a miscarriage is hard enough, but when it's not yours, in your actual body. So it was just this whole mixture of emotions. So anyway, we rallied, we got through it. And I think the biggest fear that I had was that she wouldn't want to try again after that trauma. But she's a trooper, and she said that she wanted to try again. And we had another couple of cycles, and eventually she got pregnant again. And this one stuck. And so Luca is now 8 years old. I cannot believe it. So 2 weeks after Luca was born, after 5 years of going through this ridiculous struggle to get him, I got pregnant naturally myself, which was just shocking in itself. We had never imagined that. There was also the hard conversation that we had to go back to my sister-in-law and go, oops, sorry, turns out we can do it ourselves after all. So it was just the most amazing experience. But 6 weeks later, I carriage, and it was a completely, as you can imagine, different experience. It was happening to my body, and I don't think I ever really appreciated what our surrogate had gone through in terms of, there's the emotional side of things that I had experienced, but the physical symptoms was just something that you can't escape from. And it doesn't happen quickly. It happens slowly. And it's painful emotionally and physically. So I think it gave me not an appreciation, but it made me realize, wow, she went through that for us. And so, yeah, I had to deal with my own miscarriage. Meanwhile, I had, a newborn baby as well. And so there was also that mixture of emotions where I felt like I had been robbed of that newborn phase that I had to work so hard for. So that was really hard as well. But we do what we've got to do. And I rallied, and I had that little seed of hope in the back of my mind. Up until then, I had never been able to get pregnant, but I was like, okay, maybe I can do this. Maybe my body can do this. And so we were not really trying, but I was really trying. I knew exactly what my cycle was doing, but we weren't putting as much pressure on ourselves. And 6 months later, I got pregnant naturally again. And now we have Sophie, who is 6 years old. So it's like the craziest story. You never would have imagined. I even wrote a book about it called The Injustice of Infertility. It's just the wildest ride. And, you know, I would never have chosen that path. I don't think that we would ever choose to go through so much pain and suffering. But now, you know, I'm on the other side and I can look back and go, I can see the moments of the learnings, the things that came out of it. And now I can use that experience to support more women who are going through it as well, because it really is a learned experience, isn't it?
Yeah. And I think it's important to kind of see it not in a positive light, because obviously, you know, going through all this stuff is so hard. And we all kind of are like, well, it's not positive, I'm not happy about it. But it changes you, and it grows you, and you become a more compassionate, more grateful, and just more understanding person through going through it. And although we wish we hadn't gone through it, we wouldn't be the people we are today without. There's like a silver lining type thing from it. But yeah, we kind of have to accept who we are and accept those beautiful changes. They're still beautiful, even though they came from something not very nice.
Yeah, absolutely. It is about, you know, being able to experience the gratitude and say at the same time, you know what, this really sucks.
Yeah. And it's okay to say it sucks. It does suck. There's no sugarcoating it. I was going to say, how did your surrogate kind of go? I know you said you sort of went your separate ways for a bit after, but did she talk to you about it after that?
No, to be honest with you, and even today, you know, she's my sister-in-law and she gave us a baby, and we've never really spoken about, you know, what she was experiencing. We never really healed together. And it wasn't until I wrote my book that, like, I even started acknowledging some of the stuff that we had gone through. And I was asking her questions about her experience, but I'd never really done that before. And I think that sometimes with grief, we compartmentalize it because we just are not in a space to be able to pull that out and look at it. And I think that we are under the misguided assumption that if I can just get pregnant again, then it's going to wipe away all of the grief and the suffering. And unfortunately, pregnancy is not the cure for the grief that we go through for, you know, when we experience a loss. But it wasn't until, you know, I started writing my book that I actually asked the questions of her. And you know, there were, like, I still carry a lot of guilt as a result of that as well. Don't get me wrong, I would do the same thing over again to get this result, but there's still an element of, you know, it doesn't feel good when, you know, even though it wasn't our direct actions and we could never have foreseen, and she was a grown adult and made her own choices, it's still not a great feeling when someone goes through an excruciating amount of pain and suffering and trauma because of something that you wanted and you gained from it.
I think it's important to always look at these things, you know, from a whole perspective, and you can't look at it until after the fact, right? Until you've got that foresight. And obviously, you know, I don't think she would look at it and look at your 8-year-old and be like, yeah, I wish I hadn't done that. You know what I mean? I think there would be that kind of, I suffered, and, you know, we lost that first one, but, you know, I helped make that happen. I helped make this happen, and this child would not be here without me. And I think that, although you feel bad, maybe she actually feels like really, really good about the fact that she actually helped you and actually gave you that child. Because if you think about it, when you give someone a gift, you feel so good. Like, you feel better.
Random acts of kindness. And that's what it was. It was a random act of kindness because she was doing this out of the goodness of her heart. And, you know, in Australia, surrogacy isn't like you can't do it for commercial gain at all. Like we couldn't pay her for it, which I just, don't even get me started on that. Like everyone else gets paid, but the person who is actually taking the most risk, like our doctors got paid, the lawyers got paid, like everyone else got paid, but the person who had the most to lose and who experienced the most pain out of it, which, it's just.
I'd find other ways, like, here's all your groceries for the week. Here's this. You want to go on holidays?
We were creative, but I won't say anything.
No, you have to. And I think it is very backwards. I understand why it's there, because it is to try and protect women from selling their bodies in that way. But when you have someone who's going, I'm a fully grown adult and I'm making this decision and I want to help these people, I think that needs to be honored. And I do think there needs to be a bit more education out there, like, so that there's more of an understanding and that kind of, okay, these things can still happen when you go through, so you have that kind of understanding, because obviously you would have gone through it going, whoa, yeah, surrogacy, we're going to have a baby. And that's what everyone thinks, right? You just think all these different things. Well, oh, you just have a baby. Surely I don't even have to think about miscarriage. But of course, anyone can go for a miscarriage at any point, no matter who they are or whether they're a surrogate or not, because your title doesn't matter.
No.
So I think it's just remembering those things and just having that kind of education behind you so that you are prepared for what could happen. But even with that, like I said, I don't think with all that hindsight, she wouldn't, I don't think she'd go back. I mean, I can imagine myself, like,
if
I
no.
a baby, I'd be like, so we need to stop this guilt thing. Like, you should not be guilty.
Yes, we do. It's it's an epidemic.
It actually is. The guilt thing is so prevalent. It's a proper disease, this guilt thing. But I think it's just sort of moving past that and kind of understanding that you'd do the same thing if you physically could for someone else and your body, dealt with it well, like you would, because you want to do that for that person. And you wouldn't want them to feel guilty if you suffered through it. You'd want them to just love you, So I think that's kind of how we get through these things. But yes, the guilt is real.
yeah, absolutely, because we're good people, right?
Well, I'll link your book down below so people can also have a look at that as well. But yeah, it's an odd thing to have occurred when you're trying for this baby, someone's offered you this amazing gift, and then something happens that kind of rocks all of your worlds.
Yeah, and I don't think that you can really prepare for it as much as we do try to. And I remember my pregnancy with Sophie was affected, not that I'd ever been pregnant before, but it was affected because I knew the reality now. I knew that just those 2 lines on a stick didn't mean a baby, and it's interesting. Like I was listening to, I'm going to show my taste in TV now. So I was watching an episode of Chesapeake Shores, and spoiler alert, if you haven't watched the final episode.
I have watched it. I've watched a few episodes, but I haven't watched all of it, but I'm aware of the show you're talking about.
Yes. And so at the end, one of the couples, like they had gotten pregnant, and they said at the end, like before, like they'd only just found out, they announced it to all of their family, and they said, we're having a baby. And I thought in that moment, I had never referred to any of our pregnancies as we are having a baby. It was always, so I took a test and it turned positive. It was even hard just to say I am pregnant, because for a lot of us, just seeing those 2 lines in a pregnancy test don't equal automatically, freely, without worry, a baby. So it is a form of grief that we go through, and pregnancy after infertility or loss is really hard. Even just verbalizing it, even just announcing it, it does change things so much. And I think that there does need to be a lot more support out there as well. Because when you do suffer a loss, the thought of getting pregnant is exciting yet terrifying at the same time, because you are rewalking a previous part of grief and trauma, and you would know that yourself. It's like this symbiotic relationship of every milestone that you reach is a reminder of a milestone that you didn't reach in a previous pregnancy. So it's like this, it's complicated. And that's what I say all the time. It is complicated. It's this feeling of joy and excitement, but fear and grief at the same time.
Yeah, it's a reliving. You're reliving it every day when you're pregnant again after a loss, or even with a surrogacy loss, like any kind of loss in that form, you're reliving it. You're pregnant. You're dealing with that. I have obviously I'm 21 weeks right now, so for me, I'm just like, I'm pregnant. I have the baby. But when I was lying on that table yesterday in getting my scan, I felt numb. I was like, I mean, I saw the baby and it was like, okay. And there was a little bit of relief, but then the rest of it was just like, well, I don't know if I'm going to hold that baby, because I've talked to enough women to know there's no guarantee. Just because the baby's there at 21 weeks does not mean it's going to be there in 10 weeks or even a week or even a couple of days or, come the due date. I mean, I could even go all the way to due date and then have not, allowed baby.
Yeah. And it's sad. It's kind of unfair, because we do lose that innocence of that joyful, carefree, like it's like love, you fall in love and you've never had your heart broken before, and you just kind of like, you put it out there and you fall hard. And if you've had your heart broken before, you do guard it a little bit, and there's nothing wrong with guarding your heart a little bit. It's your brain's way of trying to protect you, because it has been there before. And and it is hard to lean into that hope and make those purchases, or start a registry, or even announce your pregnancy, or have a baby shower, all of those things that you crave because you feel like your baby does deserve it. It deserves to be celebrated, but also you deserve to be able to protect yourself and your own mental health at the same time. It's not one or the other. It's both at the same time. And I think that we struggle a lot because we punish ourselves. We say to ourselves, I should be able to feel more hopeful now. I should be able to find some joy. I should be able to announce my pregnancy. I should be able to say, we're having a baby. But it's really hard. And I think that we need to give ourselves a whole lot of grace for the path that we are walking down, because pregnancy after loss, it's not the same as pregnancy. It is different. And trying to fight and struggle to feel a certain way, that's really hard, and it comes the guilt, like it's there, it's there, it's ever present. So I think it's about trying to find little moments of joy and little moments of hope. And I always talk about hope in Your Pregnancy Haven with our community as it isn't always that big roaring, I am hopeful, we're having a baby. Like it's not always that. Sometimes it's that little voice, that little moment where you can picture holding your baby, or you catch your language and you talk about when, the baby comes along, not if the baby comes along. And it's just those little slight things that kind of creep in, and all of a sudden, you're imagining like what the nursery might look like, that, just that little moment before your brain switches into gear and goes, no, don't have that hope. Like it's those little moments that you can lean into. I always talk about it. It's like this wave of hope. Like if you're in your ultrasound appointment and all of a sudden you're feeling hopeful, you ride that wave of hope to the shore. Like you do all of the things that you can be doing. Like if you're feeling brave, then As soon as you get out of that appointment, you know, you can put your ultrasound picture on the fridge, you can make a little purchase of just a little token baby thing, or you can tell one person that you're pregnant. Just those little moments, like, and I always talk about celebrating these milestones as well, because we don't get a lot of good news a lot of the time. So it's about how can we experience those little moments and lean into it just a little bit further, you know, just dip our toe into that hope. And, you know, one of the biggest regrets that I have in my pregnancy after losses is that I didn't lean into hope. I didn't have a lot of pictures of my pregnant belly. I don't remember a whole lot of it because that's a trauma response. So, you know, I think that's what I'm trying to do now, is encourage women not to blatantly like push outside their comfort zone, but in a gentle way, you know, like little things each day. And I think that we always get to the end and we only remember the fear as well. So it is about, you know, writing down at the end of each day, here's 3 things, here's 3 moments that I had a little bit of hope today, and remembering those moments, because otherwise the fear really does overshadow it in our mind. And it's not like you are constantly feeling fearful, but we remember the fear because it's a lot more powerful than the little moments, just those little niggles of hope that we feel.
Yeah, I think it's like a self-preservation, because I had that moment in the radiology clinic, and then we actually did a gender reveal, and we did the whole smoke and confetti, and it was really great, and we've posted it online, and I can link that down below. But it gave me hope. Like, I got excited, and I was shocked at my excitement, because at the end I was like, after the video, I was sort of like, oh, I don't know if I want to be. There is that fear. I don't know if I want to get excited. I don't know if I want to allow that to excite me and get me, you know, in that mindset. And all these thoughts just started coming in of like my little girl playing with her sister and my son holding her, and all these things that could happen. And I'm just like, but I don't know if they will, and I can't, you know, I don't want to picture them. And I woke up this morning picturing them, and we had like pancakes, and we were still celebrating. And it's really, really hard, because you have to fight the fear, and you have to kind of be like, you know what, it's okay to enjoy this moment, because right now I am pregnant, and right now it is a girl, and right now there is a baby in there, and it is breathing, and it is moving, and I can feel it moving. So I have to just accept that is now.
And I think it's about, you know, and congratulations, you know, like being able to lean into that and you know, have those pictures in your head. So write it down. But it is about acknowledging the fear, that the fear exists. You know, it's like, I don't like to fight feelings. I like to be able to let's just ride that wave and see what we can do to kind of, you know, you can steer it in the right direction. So I think that it is about acknowledging, I am scared because this is really important, and I am hopeful because we saw this and I can imagine that. So it's about, you know, not shutting one side away. And the reason that you are scared is because this is really important. And the reason that you're scared is because your brain is trying to protect you from future fear. But I always say that it's important for us to remember as well. And I talk about, you know, obviously I love that the topic of hope, like hope gets a really bad rap. It really does. We blame it for so much that it's not responsible for. We blame it for, oh, that's the reason why it hurt so much. You know, hope is not the reason why a miscarriage hurts. Like, it's going to hurt regardless. So regardless of whether you've had hope or not, whereas our brain's kind of like, hope is the reason why we're in this mess in the first place. Whereas it's not really. There's no way to be able to protect your heart from getting broken. And when we do try to protect it, then we do miss out on those those moments that you do deserve. And even if it's a mindset shift of, my baby deserves to be celebrated. You know, it doesn't even have to be about you. It can be about my baby deserves this celebration. My baby deserves to be remembered regardless of what happens. My baby deserves to be showered with gifts and have a party in its name. So I think like there's some little mindset shifts that you can implement throughout your pregnancy that can really help. But I think the main thing is about giving yourself a little bit of grace and acknowledging, yeah, it is hard.
Hope is definitely a dirty word when it comes to this space, you know. And I've blamed hope too. I have. I'm like, yeah, I became hopeful, and it's all, you know, and because of that, it would just hurt more. You know, I wish they hadn't have given me that hope. But at the same time, you're right. Like, it's not hope's fault. You would have felt crushed and just so upset and devastated, you know, especially if it's your first loss and it's something that's completely new. It's going to rock your world. It's going to, you know, completely just devastate you, regardless of hope or happiness or joy, or any other emotion.
Yeah. And speaking about joy, it's not just in pregnancy as well. Brene Brown has done, like, I don't know whether you follow Brene Brown. I absolutely love her, but she does a lot of work on, you know, emotions and validating and shame. Like, she's a shame researcher. And she says that, okay, I'll ask you the question. What do you feel? I pretty much gave the answer away anyway. What do you believe is the hardest emotion to feel?
I'm guessing shame, or like,
it's joy.
Joy
is the hardest emotion to feel, because there's a concept called foreboding joy. And it's that little moment, you know, when you're, you know, for me, when I'm looking at Luca and Sophie when they're asleep in bed at night, and like I start to feel joy. And then all of a sudden there's a little voice that goes, yeah, but what if something happens to them? Like, how would that feel? And all of a sudden you're robbed of that joy. It really is. And that's what, you know, the worst case scenarios, what ifs, all of those things come in. They're the intrusive thoughts that come in, that as soon as you start to open yourself up and feel a little bit of joy, that's like, whoa, let's just take it easy here. But it's not just in pregnancy, it is in life in general. So yeah, joy is one of the hardest emotions to feel.
Wow, I did not expect joy to be that at all. I actually totally resonate with you. I had a look at my children the other night, and they were all sprawled across the beds, like over my bed and every bed. And I was like, oh, like, they're so funny. And then I was like, I've got to check their breathing. And my eldest is 7. Like, I shouldn't be terrified of breathing. Like, I know some people still check just like me. But
yeah, I did it last night. I did it last night with Luca. I looked at him in bed, and yeah, you just spend a little moment, you know, and it's not outward. It's just like this reflex thing that you do. Yeah, you do it.
Like, yes, they're moving. Okay. And that joyful moment ended like as soon as you decided to check they were breathing.
Yeah. It's a real thing. It's absolutely a real thing. So it is, you know, it is about trying to harness those moments of joy and those moments of hope when you do have them, and trying to amplify them and expand on them, and changing this perspective as well of, you know, it's so easy for us to go through the day, and you get to the end, like something happens throughout the day, something, you know, that annoys you, and you're like, man, that was a really crap day. And really it wasn't. It was an ordinary day, but one horrible thing happened in the middle of the day, and then all of a sudden you label it as a bad day. So I think that's the same with our pregnancy as well. Don't forget that there have been little moments of hope and little moments of joy. So when you do get to the end of your pregnancy, God willing, that, you know, you are able to look back and not just say, I was just scared the entire length of my pregnancy. Like, there would have been moments of hope, and it's up to us to be able to lean into it, to document it, you know, inside your pregnancy haven, this this month, one of our challenges is to take a picture of their baby bump, which is really hard to do.
Oh yeah.
But when you see other women who are posting pictures of their baby bump, and it's a completely private space, but you kind of like, oh, maybe I can do it. And the reason I do things like that is so that they do have some documentation of, yes, this is me. So it is about, creating a community or somewhere that you can go so that you can just dip that toe in, like when you see other women, and this is like, I love it when women get together, we can truly create such a magic space, and we can cheer each other on and encourage each other to find that hope, and you can get caught up in other women's excitement of their successes, and everyone's just so supportive, and I love that, in a community. And it is a really hard transition to go from pregnancy loss or infertility to pregnant after infertility or loss. Like, it's a really big transition to go from one to the other.
Yeah, I've heard as well, one of the ladies I spoke to the other day, she said she really wanted to get some pictures done of her pregnancy when she was pregnant with her I think it was 6th child, and she'd gone through quite a lot of losses already, and she already had one child, and she got pictures done, and now they're her favorite pictures. That baby didn't make it, but they're her favorite pictures of her, and like remembering that baby just through those pictures. She said, like, I have nothing else. I don't have pictures of the baby, but I have pictures of me being pregnant with that baby and loving that baby. So she's looking at her belly, she's loving it, she's excited because she's having this moment of photo shoot, and it's all like, oh, I'm having a baby, and it's all nice and taking photos, and she has that moment, she has that beautiful thing. And that actually is part of the reason why I went and got a gender reveal thing with the smoke and the confetti, because I was like, well, these could be the only pictures I have of me being joyful about this baby. It could be that. Obviously, I'm praying and hoping that that's not the case and I have the baby at the end, but it could be. And if it is, you're going to want those videos. You're going to want those pictures and those moments where you're smiling and you're hopeful and you're joyful, because that shows you how much you love that baby. And you can remember how much you love that baby.
Absolutely. And I think that, it is hard to remember. And sometimes we see those things as a source of pain and grief, which is really hard to feel. But, and this is probably very different from me because I'm well on the other side of it, but I don't want to forget all of the stuff that I went through. I got a tattoo on my arm, which has, like the butterflies that signify miscarriage. It has, an L and an S for Luca and Sophie, but I don't want to forget, those babies, because they existed and they formed a part of, my path to motherhood, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, they are, you're a mother as soon as you become pregnant, and it doesn't matter if that baby is born into the world or if it's born into heaven or wherever you believe your baby is born, when they don't make it to earth. So those things, they are there in our minds, and we know and we feel that, even if we don't have any living children, we're still mothers. And I think that, holding on to that, but I don't think we can really let go. I don't think we can forget, because if you lose anyone, you remember that person, you're sad about that person, and it's the same for our babies. We're not going to forget. So many women are so scared about forgetting, and it's like, you're a mum. It doesn't matter.
And I think sometimes we feel guilty as well when we are pregnant after loss, that, oh, is my joy going to erase the existence of, my previous pregnancies or my previous babies? And it never will. And I think that we do have some sort of guilt, if we do forget like an anniversary of a miscarriage or a due date of a loss or something like that. But Like it's always there, and it doesn't always have to be the outward thing. It could be, you know, something that it could be a token purchase. You know, for me, it was a tattoo, a little bit more permanent. You know, for some people, it could be, you know, buying a candle. If for some people, it could be, you know, getting a bracelet with, you know, with initials, or just something signifying the existence as well. And I think that that's a lot of the time pregnant after loss, like we are triggered by other people's happiness. Like when other people show that excitement of, oh my God, you're pregnant, you know, it's hard, number one, because we feel guilty because our own excitement doesn't match theirs. But also we feel like their excitement is discounting all of the stuff that you've had to go through up until you get to that point. And I feel like we feel that need to remind people like, yes, but this, and this happened to get to where I am. So this is not a normal pregnancy, you know, and there's this thing that I share on Instagram. It's about an elephant, and it takes so long to have a baby. And in the meantime, I can't remember what the other animal is, like maybe a puppy has like this many litters, and you know, the elephant's pregnant the whole time. And this puppy says to the elephant, are you even pregnant? And the elephant says to this puppy, like, this takes time. This takes effort. And when my baby comes, the ground will vibrate. When my baby comes, people will stare. People will look. They will be in awe. And I feel like this is similar, you know, like a pregnancy after loss, while no more important, does feel different because it has that, like it has a greater impact for us because we went through so much to get to this point. And I think that's, you know, like I like to remember that.
Yeah, I think I've definitely seen a commonality of just this gratitude and this happiness when there is that rainbow, when there is that earthly child and the mum's holding the baby, and you know what she's gone through because she writes about it, and you've been through similar things, and you're looking at that picture and you're just like, you can see that. You can see everything in her face, in everything she's doing with that child. And you're right, it is beautiful. It's you know, it's ugly and beautiful at the same time. And you wouldn't have that experience if you hadn't had gone through those horrible things. I know with this pregnancy, I've kind of felt the opposite. Like my daughter keeps saying, I wish we'd had the other babies. And sorry, I'm gonna get teary.
No need to apologize.
And I said to her, if we'd had the other ones, like one of the other ones, we wouldn't be having this one. We wouldn't be having Grace. And I said, you know, this Grace, that's the one we're going to have. And I said, we didn't have the other two. But if we had had one, we wouldn't have had the other one either. Said, so I couldn't have all of them because they were all within the same period of time that I would be pregnant with one of them. And I sort of said that to her so that she kind of, I don't know if she understood, she's 4, but that also helped me. And that's what I've been telling myself as well, because I was like, I can be upset, obviously, but I also want to remember that I can't just be upset the whole time, because I wouldn't be pregnant with Grace if I'd had those other two. And when Grace does come, I hope she comes. I said when she does come, that's definitely hope there. when she does come, I want to really embrace her and not think of the other two in terms of like, oh well, because I've had you, I you know, I didn't get to have them. And because it's not like that, it's not an exchange. It's I lost those two and then I was blessed with you. And I think that, yeah, that's kind of been fueling me to kind of keep going and try and see joy and try and feel joy and even hope, because I didn't even think about hope. I was just thinking of like it in terms of joy, but it's hope. Like it's hope that I will be able to have this baby, hope that she will make it and she will be born and I will hold her.
Yeah. that's all that you can do, you know, acknowledging, yes, this is scary, and I hope that this all works out.
Yeah. Now, you said with your second successful pregnancy and baby on Earth, that, you know, you didn't quite feel the sort of hope and the joy that you wanted to. How did you navigate having a child who was probably getting quite excited and seeing your tummy and, oh, there's a baby in there? Like, how did you navigate that?
To be honest with you, I can't remember a lot. And it wasn't until I wrote my book that I was like, I actually don't remember a whole lot of the day-to-day experiences. And it wasn't until I read something that said about when we are experiencing grief and trauma, it affects our short-term and our long-term memory. So we don't tend to retain a lot of the knowledge of what happened. So I guess the completely honest answer to your question is I don't remember. I guess I was in this state of, I just have to survive this. I just have to get through it. And I'm sure that there were some beautiful, beautiful moments, and we've got some pictures and stuff like that, but I don't remember how the transition went on. Or I remember it was hard when, you know, when Sophie came along, that transition. Luca at the time was 17 months old, and so he was like going through the terrible twos and all of that. So I remember that the transition was really, really hard. But apart from that, you know, we get through it. You know, you get your way through it, and you would know as well, you know, like you've had to go through transitions where you welcome another baby to the family, and it is really difficult. Everyone has to adjust.
Yeah.
It's a transition for everyone involved. Like everyone's role changes a little bit, you know, and you know, your youngest child will no longer be the youngest child, so it'll be a completely different dynamic as well. So yeah, we get through it the best that we can.
I guess that's why you promote writing as well, because obviously you yourself, you know, you don't have memories of those times. And so, yeah, that's really awesome that you kind of have that perspective in terms of helping other women to make sure they have a little bit of documentation, a little bit of that information, so that if they do want to look back, they can look back and they can kind of understand, okay, that's what I was going through, that's what it was like, and these are the things I did. Because yeah, if you don't remember, it makes it quite hard sometimes to heal or to move through the next phase, because you don't actually have an understanding of where you've come from, because you can't remember it because you're trying to protect yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I remember the fear. I remember that very, very much so. But yeah, it is about, you know, and I always say to people, don't look at my journey and go, oh, I'm going to do what she did. I'm like, no. I have learned the lessons as a result of, this is what you don't do. You know, yes, we ended up with the result at the end, but I feel like there are so many things that I could have done to support myself. You know, I could have gone and gotten help. I could have, you know, gone and implemented some healthy habits. I could have journaled. I could have dealt with the grief, but I never dealt with anything until the very end, when, you know, I was able to look back from a safe space and go, oh, okay, I better deal with that now, because unfortunately the grief does not go away at all, which is what we learn. So yes, I always say that, don't do what I do. Do what I say. I have learned. This is not what you do. And that's why I'm really passionate about, you know, I didn't have, you know, the pregnancy photo shoot. And that's why I like to encourage other people to just, when you're feeling that little moment of bravery, to lean into it and take the picture.
Yeah, I'm a little bit, I've got a lot of fear at the moment, because the kids are getting very excited, because we did the gender reveal and it was like this big thing, and we didn't go all out. It was just us, like small family, but it was just this big deal for them, and they're so excited. And my youngest daughter, like my daughter, yeah, I said youngest daughter, she's going to be my oldest. She was like, oh, mommy, we need to buy something for the baby. And I was like, yes, we can do that. And I got so excited with her, and now I'm thinking about it, I'm terrified.
Yes, and that's why it's important that in that moment where you feel the excitement, get on your phone and make the purchase. Like, it's
You say
leaning
yes.
into it. Yeah,
I've
yeah,
said yes
absolutely.
now. I've said yes now, and I can't go back on it. I've said yes to a child, and she's 4, you know, she's going to be like, so mummy, when are we going to the shop? So mummy, you said next time we go to the shop, we're going to get the baby something. And so I'm going to have that now, and I don't have a choice. I've put myself in that corner now.
Mm-hmm.
I think it is a case of that. And I've also sort of said to them, you know, I think we should do a baby shower. And I just caught myself saying it. I just said it. And I feel like part of my brain is trying to help me, you know, just enjoy it, enjoy it, enjoy it. Like even this morning, I was like, we're going to have pancakes and it's going to be amazing. And I put chocolate on it and everything. It was terrible. It made me feel very sick, but everyone loved it. But yeah, it's just, you're right, giving into that hope and just allowing yourself to feel it, and you know, knowing it doesn't take away from the loss of your other babies, and knowing it doesn't take away from their memory, and it doesn't take away from them, but what it does do is add something to you and add something to your kids. And obviously the other thing I'm scared about is them, you know, getting really hopeful and then having it crushed. But then at the same time, that can really make someone as well. Like, we've gone through all these hardships, we've gone through this hard time, and we've come out of it better people, I think, more caring, more compassionate, more understanding. So I'm kind of like trying to like have that in my head, that will happen for them if that happens. So if they have to go through that, then they will have that. They will have those sort of character traits building in them, because they would have gone through it too.
And you do want to protect their little hearts as well. You do want to protect them and wrap them in cotton wool, but you can't either. You know, and I have these conversations with Luca and Sophie all of the time, and we do talk about loss. You know, we have lost, you know, relatives, and I'm not going to sugarcoat it for them as well, because I think that we are not taught how to grieve or how to feel the emotions that make people feel uncomfortable. I want to educate them now on, it's okay to feel sad. There's nothing wrong with it. And like, life is precious, and people aren't going to be around forever. And I know that that sounds like a, you know, glass half empty, but that's the reality. And I think that we need to not protect them so much, but prepare them. And we are creating little humans that are able to be resilient, but also to deal with the inevitable grief and loss that is a part of life.
Yeah, that's so true. And you're right, there needs to be more preparation. And if we do prepare them, then hopefully they won't suffer as much in terms of falling into pits and things, because I know I definitely fell into one. And many women do. But we have this opportunity to teach our kids about it and actually help them have those mechanisms and those things, so that they don't fall so deep and they can kind of move through it rather than being crushed by it. But yeah, it's gosh, there's just so much to this world, so much that I didn't know about, and it just gets open to you, doesn't it? So how are you guys now? Like, you, I mean, you seem to be happy in this place. I'm guessing you're not going to be trying for any more babies or anything like that.
No, I am 46. Not that that's too old to have a baby. There are still women who have babies beyond 46, but
once you've gone through that, yeah,
we're done.
It's a long time as well. Did they just for the final sort of note, did the doctors like say anything about how you managed to get pregnant and have your baby?
Well, it's interesting because by that stage we'd finished with our fertility doctor, who had worked with us for so many years, and I sent him my scans when I actually did get pregnant, and he didn't respond. I have spoken to him since then, but you know, it was almost me kind of going, see, I could, you know, but who knows what it was. People keep on saying to me, well, what happened? And we can make a million changes and we don't know what it is, the one thing, like it's this feeling that we do have control, but at the end of the day, we don't have a lot of control. We can control some of the inputs, but like ultimately the reason, like, oh, it was this that I did. Oh, it's because I cut that out of my diet. And the truth was that I wasn't doing anything different. I was off work. So I was on maternity leave with Lucas. So whether it was the reduction in stress, I was going outside and walking him in the pram every day. So maybe it was the movement. I wasn't in that feeling of lack of I don't have a baby. I was all loved up. It could have been that, like it could have been so many different things. I think it's just, we can twist ourselves around and around and kind of go, okay, what was it that did that? Or we can move forward and go, I'm not quite sure, but I'm glad that it happened.
Yeah.
I'm glad that I'm here.
I think a lot of women will get caught up in it because obviously if they haven't had the rainbow yet, they're going, okay, well, what did she do? What how did you do it? Like, I've got the same issue. How did you do it? And I mean, thoughts in my head were like, maybe you gave yourself that enough time for your lining to recover from being on the pill for so long, because obviously the pill can actually do quite a bit to your hormones and all that. So it could have been a fact of it was just a reaction from being on the pill for so long, and then you were able to recover in that time where you had the surrogate and you had all those things going on, and then you had the baby, and then but you're right, it could be that you were calm, it could be that you were more outside more, you were more active, it could be that you weren't working. There's so many variables. And my husband actually said something very helpful to me the other day, because well, it wasn't the other day, it was when after we'd had the losses, and I was really like emotional about everything, and we just found out that I was pregnant again with this one, and I was terrified that I was going to lose it again. And I said, what if I do the wrong thing? What if, and he goes, well, you don't know what wrong thing, or if there was even a wrong thing that caused the loss to you, don't know. And he said, so you have to accept it. You have to accept that it happened, and just do what you need to do, and just do as many right things as you can, as you're capable. Don't fall into the headspace of oh, well, it's all my fault and all that, because you don't know, and you won't know. And he said, and if you knew that something would cause the baby to die, then you wouldn't do it. He said, if you knew eating that piece of bread was going to kill the baby, would you eat it? I said, well, no. And he goes, exactly. If you know these things, you're not going to do them, but you're not aware, and you have to just accept that.
Yeah. And I think the big thing is it's not your fault. Like, there is very little that you can physically do to prevent a loss. And on one hand, that can give you some relief because of all of the guilt and responsibility that you're carrying. And on the other hand, it can give you a whole lot of fear, because you're like, well, if I don't know what caused it, how do I know what to do to prevent it? But there is very little, like most miscarriages, as you would know, they're due to chromosomal, issues, and that's what it is. So the fear of, am I going to cause a loss? I feel like it's displaced a lot of the time, and it's hard not to feel that. If we go back to the beginning, the guilt of this was my fault, but I guarantee you, like, it's not your fault.
Yeah, it's like what we were saying, you can't, it's not like you chose to do something that would result in that. And that's what you have to kind of hold on to. You didn't choose it. And if you had that choice, you'd make the better choice. You'd make the choice that would result in a baby. So I think that's a better way, that's an easier way to accept it when things do happen, to just say that, because you can then go, yeah, like if I had the choice, I would have chosen the thing that would keep the baby. I wouldn't have chosen this other reality. Yeah, it's just a reality we're going to have to deal with. And like you said, you're not guaranteed to not go through loss again, and we can do all the things. I've heard of many women doing all the things, the Mediterranean diet and all this other stuff, and still having losses. So we can do all the things and still have one, and we're just going to have to deal with that as women, trying to have babies, that sometimes we go through that. But yeah, it's a bit sucky.
It does. It sucks.
Is there anything you wanted to end the interview on? Like, is there anything that that you want to tell our viewers right now about your services or about anything?
Well, sure. I'm sure that you're going to post all of the details in terms of where you can find me. I do one-on-one coaching. I also have the community called Your Pregnancy Haven for women who are pregnant after loss, which I love. But I guess the biggest thing is the thing that I always talk about is that it is okay to be scared. It is okay to feel jealous. It's okay to be angry. It's okay to, feel all of the different things that come up on this journey, because it, as we were saying, it really does suck. And I think that it's really important that you give yourself a whole lot of grace for everything that you have been through. So yeah, just being really gentle with yourself.
Well, thank you so much, and thank you for being here, and I hope so many women are listening to you in that and will allow themselves to feel whatever they need to feel, because we need to care for ourselves too. We're important.
Absolutely. Yeah, and thank you for creating this. It's a huge effort.
Keep doing what you're doing. You're amazing, and so many women, I know that you're helping. You just helped me just from doing this conversation, and every interview is a therapy session. So
I love it. Beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you. See ya.
Please note that all speakers, including experts and professionals, express information, views, and opinions that should not be used to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any medical conditions. If you have a medical issue, please consult a qualified professional. Speakers voice their own views, opinions, and conclusions, and they may not reflect the views, opinions, and conclusions of other speakers. Ella Rose, The Joy of Sunflowers, and its sponsors may not endorse all or any of the views, opinions, or conclusions expressed.
And